First contact. The vast expanse of space stretched out before Captain Elena Rodriguez as she stood on the bridge of the ESS Horizon, humanity's first faster-than-light capable starship. After decades of theoretical work and technological breakthroughs, humanity had finally achieved interstellar travel. The excitement among the crew was palpable as they ventured further from Earth than any human had ever gone before. "Captain, I'm detecting an anomaly at the edge of the Oort cloud," reported Lieutenant Kira Chen, the ship's sensors officer. Her fingers danced across the holographic interface, bringing up a detailed scan of the area. Elena leaned forward, her dark eyes narrowing as she studied the readout. "Can you identify it, Lieutenant?" "Negative, Captain. It's unlike anything in our database. But it's moving. And fast." Before Elena could respond, a blinding flash of light filled the bridge. When the crew's vision cleared, they found themselves face to face with an enormous vessel that dwarfed the horizon. Its sleek, silvery hull seemed to shimmer and shift, defying the laws of physics as humanity understood them. "By all that's holy," whispered Commander Jack O'Neill, Elena's second-in-command. "We're not alone." Elena straightened her uniform and took a deep breath. This was the moment humanity had both dreamed of and feared for centuries. "Open a channel, all frequencies. Let's hope they're friendly." Before they could broadcast a message, a beam of soft blue light enveloped the bridge. Elena felt a tingling sensation throughout her body, and suddenly she found herself standing in a vast ethereal chamber. The walls pulsed with an inner light, and strange, flowing symbols danced across their surface. 3 tall, willowy figures stood before her. They had elongated limbs, iridescent skin, and large, almond-shaped eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of millennia. One of them stepped forward, its movements graceful and fluid. "Greetings, humans," it spoke, its voice resonating directly in Elena's mind. "We are Vazaki, guardians of this sector of the galaxy. We have been observing your species for some time." Elena swallowed hard, acutely aware that she now represented all of humanity. "On behalf of Earth and all humankind, I greet you. I am Captain Elena Rodriguez of the ESS Horizon. We come in peace and with a desire to learn." The Zaki's large eyes blinked slowly. "Your arrival was unexpected. We had not anticipated your species achieving interstellar travel for at least another century." There was a note of surprise, perhaps even disappointment, in the alien's telepathic voice. Elena felt a flicker of irritation but pushed it aside. "We are a determined and resourceful species. Our drive to explore and understand the universe is strong." The 3 Zaki exchanged glances, a silent conversation passing between them. Finally, the speaker turned back to Elena. "Indeed. However, you are still in your infancy as a spacefaring civilization. Your technology is primitive by our standards." Elena bristled at the dismissive tone, but maintained her composure. "We may be young, but we have much to offer. Our history is filled with examples of overcoming seemingly insurmountable challenges." The Zarki waved a long-fingered hand dismissively. Yes. All young species believe they are special, but the galaxy is vast and ancient, filled with wonders and dangers beyond your comprehension. It would be best if you returned to your homeworld and continued your development, under our guidance, of course." Elena's eyes narrowed. "With all due respect, we have no intention of retreating. Humanity has earned its place among the stars, and we intend to explore, to learn, and to contribute to the galactic community." The alien's expression remained impassive, but Elena sensed a flicker of amusement, perhaps even condescension. "Your enthusiasm is quaint, but you do not understand the complexities of galactic politics or the advanced sciences that govern interstellar civilizations. It would be irresponsible of us to allow you to blunder about, potentially causing harm to yourselves or others." Elena felt her temper rising, but forced herself to remain diplomatic. "Perhaps we could arrange a cultural exchange. We could learn from you, and you might find that we have unique perspectives to offer." The Zaki seemed to consider this for a moment before responding. "We will allow you limited access to some of our outposts. But understand this, humans. You are guests in this galaxy, and your activities will be closely monitored." With another flash of light, Elena found herself back on the bridge of the horizon. Her crew looked at her expectantly, a mix of excitement and apprehension on their faces. "Captain," Commander O'Neill prompted, "what happened? What did they say?" Elena took a moment to gather her thoughts before addressing her crew. "We've made first contact with an advanced alien civilization called the Zaki. They've graciously offered to guide our development as a spacefaring species." She couldn't keep the sarcasm entirely out of her voice, and she saw understanding dawn in her officer's eyes. "They think we're primitives, don't they?" Lieutenant Chen asked, her voice tight with indignation. Elena nodded. "They've underestimated us, that's for sure. But this is just the beginning. We'll show them what humanity is capable of, one step at a time." As the crew began discussing the implications of this momentous encounter, Elena gazed out at the stars. The galaxy had just become a much larger, more complex place. But if there was one thing she knew about her species, it was that humans thrived on challenges. "They think we're primitive," she murmured to herself, a determined smile playing on her lips. "Well, we'll just have to prove them wrong, won't we?" Little did Elena know that humanity would soon have the chance to demonstrate its worth on a galactic stage in ways that neither she nor the dismissive Zaki could possibly imagine. The stars held not only wonders, but also terrible dangers, and humanity's ingenuity and determination would soon be put to the ultimate test. As the horizon prepared to follow the Zaki ship to one of their outposts, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of an epic journey for humankind. The universe had thrown down the gauntlet, and humanity was ready to rise to the challenge. The galactic threat. 6 months had passed since humanity's first contact with the Zaki. The ESS Horizon, along with 2 other Earth ships that had joined them, orbited a bustling Zaki outpost on the fringes of what the aliens called civilized space. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood in the observation lounge, watching the graceful dance of alien vessels coming and going from the massive space station. Despite the Zaki's initial dismissiveness, Elena and her crew had worked tirelessly to prove humanity's worth. They had shown remarkable adaptability in learning alien technologies and had even managed to impress some of the younger Zaki scientists with their innovative approaches to problem-solving. Commander Jack O'Neill entered the lounge, his face grave. "Captain, we've just received a priority transmission from Zaki High Command. You're going to want to see this." Elena followed Jack to the bridge, where Lieutenant Chen brought up a holographic display. The image showed a distant sector of space where a roiling mass of darkness seemed to be consuming everything in its path. "What am I looking at, Lieutenant?" Elena asked, her voice hushed. "The Zaki are calling it the Void Swarm," Chen replied, her fingers flying over the controls to zoom in on the phenomenon. "It's some kind of collective alien entity that devours matter and energy, and it's heading straight for populated systems." Elena's mind raced as she processed the implications. How are the Zaki responding? Jack shook his head. "That's the thing, Captain. They're struggling. The Void Swarm seems immune to their advanced energy weapons. They've already lost 2 outer colonies." As if on cue, the ship's communications system chimed. A holographic image of Zilo, the Zaki liaison officer, appeared before them. His usually serene features were marred by visible distress. "Captain Rodriguez," Xilo's telepathic voice resonated with urgency. "The High Council requests your immediate presence at the Central Command Station. We face a crisis unlike any in our recorded history." Elena exchanged glances with her officers before responding. "We'll be there right away, Xilo. Can you give us any more information?" "All will be explained upon your arrival. Please, make haste." The transmission cut off abruptly. Within the hour, Elena found herself standing before the Zaki High Council, a group of ancient aliens whose combined wisdom spanned millennia. Yet now, they looked shaken, their ethereal composure cracking under the weight of the looming threat. The head of the council, an ancient Zaki named Xanthor, addressed the assembled alien and human representatives. The void swarm defies our understanding. It consumes all in its path: matter, energy, even the fabric of space-time itself. Our most powerful weapons barely slow its advance. Murmurs of fear rippled through the gathered aliens. Elena stepped forward, her voice cutting through the rising panic. Have you attempted to communicate with it, to understand its nature or motivations? Xanthor's large eyes blinked slowly. We have tried, human, but the swarm appears to be a purely destructive force, driven by an insatiable hunger. It does not respond to any form of communication we know. What about its weaknesses? Elena pressed. Surely you've observed something that could be exploited. A young Vizaki scientist named Lyra spoke up. We've noticed that the swarm seems to struggle with rapidly changing energy patterns and certain forms of matter, but we haven't been able to weaponize its observation effectively. Elena's mind whirred with possibilities. Humanity's history was full of examples of overcoming seemingly unstoppable forces through ingenuity and unconventional thinking. We might be able to help with that, she said cautiously. Humanity has a long history of adapting to overcome existential threats. The council members exchanged skeptical glances. Xanthor spoke, his tone a mixture of desperation and lingering condescension. With all due respect, Captain, what could your primitive technology possibly offer against a threat that confounds even our advanced civilization? Elena felt a surge of determination. This was humanity's chance to prove its worth on a galactic scale. Sometimes, Xanthor, it's not about having the most advanced technology. It's about how you use what you have. We humans have a knack for finding unconventional solutions to impossible problems. She turned to address the entire council. Give us access to your data on the void swarm. Let us analyze it with fresh eyes. We might see patterns or possibilities that you've overlooked. The council deliberated silently for a few moments before Xanthor nodded reluctantly. Very well, human. We shall grant you access. But understand this, the fate of countless civilizations hangs in the balance. We cannot afford any mistakes or delays. As the data transfer began, Elena felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. She tapped her communicator. O'Neill, assemble our best scientists and tacticians. We've got work to do. Over the next few days, the human crew worked tirelessly alongside their Zaki counterparts. They pored over data, ran simulations, and proposed increasingly creative solutions. The humans' ability to think outside the box and draw inspiration from their own history and science fiction began to impress even the most skeptical Zaki. Elena stood before a holographic representation of the void swarm, watching it consume a simulated star system. Something about its behavior nagged at her. Chen, can you overlay the swarm's movement patterns with gravitational field data? As the new data appeared, a pattern emerged. Elena's eyes widened. There, do you see it? The swarm isn't just consuming randomly. It's following paths of least resistance in the gravitational landscape. Lyra, the young Zaki scientist, leaned in, her eyes shimmering with excitement. By the cosmic harmony, you're right. How did we miss this? Sometimes it takes a fresh perspective, Elena said with a smile. Now, if we can predict its path, we might be able to set up defenses or even herd it away from populated systems. As the implications of this discovery sank in, a new energy filled the command center. For the first time since the crisis began, there was a glimmer of hope. Xanthor approached Elena, his earlier skepticism replaced by grudging respect. It seems we may have underestimated your species, Captain Rodriguez. Your insight may have given us a fighting chance. Elena nodded, her mind already racing with potential strategies. This is just the beginning, Xanthor. Humanity is ready to stand alongside the Zaki and face this threat together. We may be younger and less technologically advanced, but we've got determination, creativity, and a stubborn refusal to give up. As the combined human and Zaki forces began to mobilize, implementing Elena's insights and developing new technologies to combat the void swarm, a sense of cautious optimism spread through the station. The galaxy was facing its darkest hour, but in the unlikeliest of allies, the underestimated humans, a new hope had emerged. The stage was set for an epic confrontation that would determine the fate of countless civilizations and forever change the galaxy's perception of humanity. As Elena gazed out at the stars, she knew that the real test was yet to come. But for the first time since encountering the void swarm, she dared to believe that they stood a chance of victory. Unlikely alliance. The command center of the Zaki Central Station buzzed with activity as humans and aliens worked side by side, their earlier prejudices set aside in the face of a common enemy. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood at the heart of it all, coordinating efforts between the Earth ships and the Zaki fleet. "Status report," Elena called out, her voice cutting through the chatter. Lieutenant Chen responded promptly, her fingers dancing across a holographic interface. "The void swarm has changed course, Captain. It's heading towards the Lyra cluster, home to over 50 inhabited worlds." A hush fell over the room. The Lyra cluster was one of the most densely populated regions in this sector of the galaxy. If the swarm reached it, billions of lives would be lost. Xanthor, the Zaki High Council leader, approached Elena. "Your prediction models have proven accurate thus far, Captain. What do you propose we do?" Elena studied the tactical display, her mind racing. "We need to funnel the swarm away from the cluster. If we can manipulate the gravitational landscape—" "Impossible," interrupted a Zaki scientist. "Even our most advanced technology cannot alter gravitational fields on such a massive scale." Elena's eyes lit up with an idea. "Maybe we don't need to alter the fields themselves. What if we could create the illusion of gravitational changes?" She turned to Commander O'Neill. "Jack, remember that deep space exercise we ran last year? The one with the quantum field manipulators?" O'Neill's eyes widened in recognition. "The gravity weight generators. But Captain, those were experimental. We never got them to work reliably." "We don't need them to work perfectly," Elena explained, her excitement growing. "We just need to create enough disturbance to trick the swarm into following a new path." Lyra, the young Zaki scientist who had been working closely with the humans, stepped forward. "I think I see where you're going with this, Captain. If we combine your gravity weight generators with our phase shift technology, we might be able to create a convincing false gravitational corridor." Stanfo looked skeptical. "This plan sounds incredibly risky. What if it fails?" Elena met his gaze steadily. "Then we'll be no worse off than we are now. But if it works, we can lead the swarm away from populated systems and buy time to develop a more permanent solution." After a moment of tense silence, Xanthor nodded. "Very well, Captain. We will proceed with your plan. But know that the consequences of failure will be catastrophic." Over the next few days, human and Zaki engineers worked tirelessly to integrate their technologies. The Earth ships were retrofitted with Zaki phase shift devices, while the alien vessels were equipped with human-designed gravity weight generators. As the combined fleet took up positions along the projected path of the void swarm, Elena addressed the crews. "This is our moment. We stand united against a threat that would consume us all. Human ingenuity and Zaki wisdom have brought us this far. Now, let's show the galaxy what we can do together." The plan was put into motion. As the roiling darkness of the void swarm approached, the fleet activated their devices. Space itself seemed to ripple and distort as false gravitational corridors sprang into existence. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly but surely, the leading edge of the swarm began to turn, following the path they had laid out. Cheers erupted across the fleet. Elena allowed herself a small smile of relief, but she knew the battle was far from over. "Maintain positions," she ordered. "We need to keep this up until the swarm is well clear of the Lyra cluster." Hours stretched into days as the fleet guided the void swarm through empty regions of space. The The strain on both the crews and the equipment was immense. Several ships had to drop out due to system failures, but places quickly filled by others. Just as it seemed they might succeed, alarms blared across the command center. "Captain," Chen called out, her voice tight with tension. "The swarm is accelerating. It's breaking free of our control." Elena watched in horror as tendrils of darkness lashed out from the swarm, enveloping several Zaki ships. The vessels disappeared in silent flashes of light, consumed in an instant. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Elena shouted, "fall back to secondary positions." As the fleet scattered, the void swarm surged forward, its hunger seemingly intensified by its brief confinement. It was heading straight for a populated system at the edge of the Lyra cluster. "We can't let it reach those worlds," Elena said, her mind racing for solutions. "We need to slow it down, buy time for evacuations." Xanthor, his earlier skepticism replaced by grim determination, spoke up. "We have one option left, but it is extremely dangerous. Our flagship carries an experimental singularity drive. If we detonate it within the swarm, it might create enough disruption to halt its advance." Elena understood the implications immediately. That would be a suicide mission. Xanthor nodded sullenly. "I will pilot the ship myself. It is my duty as leader to protect our people." "No," Elena said firmly, surprising even herself. "I'll do it." Shocked silence fell over the command center. Xanthor stared at her in disbelief. "You would sacrifice yourself for aliens you barely know." Elena met his gaze steadily. "This isn't just about the Zaki. Every sentient being in this galaxy is at risk. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our willingness to lay down our lives for a greater cause." She turned to her crew. "I'm ordering the Horizon to fall back with the rest of the fleet. I'll take a shuttle equipped with the Singularity drive." "Captain, no," O'Neill protested. "Let me do it instead." Elena shook her head. "The crew needs you, Jack. Get them home safe." As Elena prepared to depart, Xanthor approached her one last time. "I was wrong about your species, Captain Rodriguez. You have shown courage and nobility beyond anything I expected. Whatever happens, know that humanity has earned its place among the stars." Elena nodded, feeling a mix of fear and resolve as she boarded the shuttle. As she piloted towards the heart of the void swarm, she opened a channel to the fleet. "This is Captain Elena Rodriguez. I don't know if this will work, but I do know this. The unity we've shown here today proves that together we can overcome any obstacle. Keep fighting, keep innovating, and never give up hope." With those final words, Elena plunged into the roiling darkness of the void swarm, the Singularity drive humming ominously behind her. The fate of the galaxy now rested on the shoulders of one human, armed with alien technology and an indomitable spirit. As the shuttle disappeared from sensors, the combined fleet watched in tense silence, waiting to see if Elena's sacrifice would be enough to turn the tide in this cosmic battle. Human ingenuity unleashed. The combined fleet of human and Zaki ships hung in space, a somber silence permeating every vessel as they waited for news of Captain Elena Rodriguez's fate. Commander Jack O'Neill stood on the bridge of the ESS Horizon, his eyes fixed on the swirling mass of the void swarm in the distance. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from within the swarm, followed by a shockwave that rocked even the most distant ships. As the light faded, the sensors came back online, revealing an astonishing sight. "Commander," Lieutenant Chen called out, her voice filled with awe. "The swarm, it stopped advancing, and there's a massive void at its center." The Singularity drive had worked, creating a temporary black hole that tore a huge chunk out of the void swarm. For the first time since its appearance, the seemingly unstoppable force had been halted. As the realization of Elena's success and sacrifice sank in, a mix of jubilation and sorrow swept through the fleet. They had won a crucial victory, but at a terrible cost. Xanthor's voice came through the comm system, addressing all ships. Captain Rodriguez's bravery has given us a chance, but the void swarm is already beginning to regenerate. We must act quickly to capitalize on this opportunity. O'Neill straightened his uniform, determination etched on his face. All right, people. Elena bought us time with her life. Let's make sure it wasn't in vain. I want every scrap of data we have on that singularity explosion. There's got to be something we can use. Over the next few days, human and Zaki scientists worked tirelessly, analyzing the effects of the singularity on the void swarm. It was Dr. Ayana Okoro, a brilliant young physicist from Earth, who made the breakthrough. Look at this, she said, pointing to a complex series of equations. The singularity didn't just create a physical void in the swarm, it disrupted its quantum cohesion. If we can replicate that effect on a larger scale— O'Neill leaned in, his brow furrowed. Can we create more singularities? Dr. Okoro shook her head. No need. We can achieve a similar effect with precisely calibrated graviton pulses. But we'd need a massive amount of power, more than any single ship can generate. Lyra, the young Zaki scientist, chimed in. What if we combine our resources? The Zaki fleet's energy grid could be synchronized with your ship's systems. O'Neill nodded, a plan forming in his mind. And we could use the gravity weight generators to focus and amplify the pulses. But how do we get close enough to the swarm to make it work? It was a human engineer, Chief Petty Officer Miguel Sanchez, who provided the answer. We build a ship, he said, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Not just any ship, but the biggest, most advanced vessel this galaxy has ever seen. We combine human and Zaki tech, creating something entirely new. The idea caught fire among both humans and Zaki. Over the next weeks, as the void swarm slowly regained its strength, a massive construction project began in orbit around a nearby gas giant. The ship they were building would be called the Phoenix, a symbol of hope rising from the ashes of near defeat. Human engineers brought their expertise in modular design and adaptability, while Zaki scientists contributed their advanced energy systems and phase-shift technology. The result was a vessel unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. As the Phoenix neared completion, O'Neill stood in its cavernous main hangar, addressing a mixed crew of humans and Zaki. What we've accomplished here is nothing short of miraculous. This ship represents the best of both our peoples, but make no mistake, our real strength isn't in the technology, it's in our unity, our determination, and our refusal to give up even in the face of impossible odds. The Phoenix's maiden voyage was a tense affair. As they approached the void swarm, which had resumed its relentless advance towards populated systems, the crew worked feverishly to bring their untested systems online. Graviton pulse generators at full power, reported Chen, who had transferred to the Phoenix for this mission. Zaki phase shift systems integrated and functioning normally. O'Neill took a deep breath. All right, let's do this. For Elena, for every life in this galaxy. Fire the pulse array. A series of brilliant energy beams lanced out from the Phoenix, striking the void swarm in carefully calculated points. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly but surely, rifts began to appear in the swarm's structure. It's working, Lara exclaimed, her eyes wide as she monitored the sensor readings. The swarm's quantum cohesion is breaking down. But their victory was short-lived. The void swarm, as if sensing the threat, began to adapt. Tendrils of darkness lashed out, striking the Phoenix with unexpected force. Shields down to 60%. Chen called out as the ship shuddered under the assault. The swarm is learning, evolving to counter our attack. O'Neill gripped the arms of his command chair. That's the thing about us humans, he said, a grim smile on his face. We're pretty good at adapting too. Sanchez, reroute all non-essential power to the pulse array. Lara, see if you can recalibrate the phase shift to match the swarm's new frequency. As the battle raged on, the Phoenix unleashed a constantly changing barrage of graviton pulses, each one adjusted on the fly to counter the swarm's adaptations. It was a dance of technology and intuition, with human creativity and Zaki precision working in perfect harmony. Hours passed, and slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. The void swarm's advance faltered, then stopped altogether. Cheers erupted across the Phoenix as huge sections of the swarm began to disintegrate. But their celebration was premature. Just as victory seemed within reach, the swarm made one last desperate move. It concentrated its entire mass into a single point, creating a gravity well that began to pull the Phoenix in. "We're caught in its pull," Chen shouted over the blaring alarms. "Engines at maximum, but we can't break free." O'Neill's mind raced, searching for a solution. Then, in a moment of clarity, he remembered something Elena had once said during a training exercise. "Sometimes, to win the game, you have to flip the board." "All power to the gravity wake generators," he ordered. "We're going to use the swarm's own gravity against it." As the Phoenix plunged towards the heart of the swarm, its gravity wake generators spun up to maximum power. The fabric of space-time itself began to warp and twist around the ship. For a moment, it seemed as if the entire universe held its breath. Then, with a reality-shaking explosion, the conflicting gravitational forces tore a hole in the very fabric of space. The void swarm, caught in the maelstrom, was ripped apart and sucked into the rift. As quickly as it had appeared, the rift closed, leaving behind nothing but empty space where the void swarm had been. Silence fell over the bridge of the Phoenix. Then, slowly, realization dawned. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity and the Zaki had faced an unimaginable threat and emerged victorious. As the news spread across the galaxy, celebrations erupted on countless worlds. The unlikely alliance of humans and Zaki had saved not just themselves, but every sentient being in the galaxy. O'Neill stood at the viewport, gazing out at the stars. He thought of Elena, of her sacrifice that had made this victory possible. "We did it, Captain," he whispered. "We proved them wrong. Humanity has earned its place among the stars." As the Phoenix turned towards home, O'Neill knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had shown its worth, and the galaxy would never be the same again. A new galactic order, the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Conclave, buzzed with excitement and nervous energy. Representatives from hundreds of alien species filled the chamber. Their diverse forms a testament to the vastness and variety of life in the universe. At the center of it all stood Commander Jack O'Neill, now Admiral, representing humanity in this unprecedented gathering. It had been 6 months since the defeat of the Void Swarm, and the ripples of that victory had spread across the galaxy. The Zaki, once dismissive of humanity, had become their staunchest allies, sharing technology and knowledge freely. Other alien races, hearing of humanity's crucial role in saving the galaxy, clamored to establish diplomatic relations with Earth. Xanfor, the Zaki High Council leader, stepped up to the podium. The chamber fell silent as he began to speak. Esteemed representatives of the galaxy, his telepathic voice resonated through the hall. "We stand here today because of an unprecedented act of courage and cooperation. The threat of the Void Swarm forced us to look beyond our preconceptions and unite in ways we never thought possible." He gestured towards O'Neill. "And at the heart of this unity stood humanity, a species we once dismissed as primitive, yet who proved to be the key to our survival." O'Neill felt the weight of countless alien gazes upon him. He thought of Elena, of the crew of the Phoenix, of every human who had played a part in this cosmic drama. Their sacrifices had led to this moment. As Xanfor continued, "In light of recent events, the Zaki propose a reformation of the Galactic Order. We nominate humanity for full membership in the Galactic Conclave, with all rights and responsibilities that entails." A murmur rippled through the assembly. Full membership for such a young species was unprecedented. Some voices called out in support, while others raised concerns. A tall, insectoid alien that O'Neill recognized as a Vexcar, known for their logical and sometimes ruthless nature, spoke up. "While humanity's actions are commendable, are they truly ready for the responsibilities of full membership? Their technology is still far behind many of us. O'Neill stepped forward, his voice steady as he addressed the assembly. With all due respect, advanced technology isn't everything. Humanity brings something unique to the table: adaptability, creativity, and an indomitable spirit. We may not have the most advanced ships or weapons, but we have a knack for thinking outside the box and finding solutions where others see only problems. He paused, letting his words sink in. The defeat of the Void Swarm wasn't just about technology. It was about different species coming together, combining their strengths. That's the kind of unity and cooperation that humanity is eager to bring to the galactic conclave. A ripple of approval spread through the chamber. Even the Vexcar seemed to consider his words thoughtfully. Lyra, the young Zarki scientist who had worked closely with the humans, stepped up to speak. I have witnessed humanity's potential firsthand. Their curiosity, their drive to understand and explore, is unparalleled. They ask questions we have long since stopped asking, see possibilities we have overlooked. The galaxy needs this fresh perspective. As more representatives voiced their opinions, a consensus began to form. Humanity's actions had earned them a place at the galactic table. Finally, after hours of debate, a vote was called. O'Neill held his breath as the results were tallied. When they were announced, he could hardly believe it. Humanity had been accepted into the galactic conclave with an overwhelming majority. As the assembly erupted in applause, O'Neill felt a mix of pride and humility. They had come so far, yet he knew this was just the beginning of humanity's cosmic journey. In the days that followed, the implications of humanity's new status began to unfold. Earth became a hub of intergalactic diplomacy and cultural exchange. Alien technology flowed freely, accelerating human advancement by centuries. But perhaps more importantly, human ideas and perspectives began to influence galactic society. The Phoenix, the ship that had saved the galaxy, became a symbol of this new era of cooperation. It was recommissioned as a joint human-alien exploration vessel, its mission to push the boundaries of known space and foster understanding between species. As O'Neill prepared for the Phoenix's maiden voyage under its new mandate, he stood in the ship's memorial hall. A holographic image of Elena Rodriguez rotated slowly above a plaque commemorating her sacrifice. "We did it, Elena," he said softly. "We showed them what humanity is capable of, and we're just getting started." Lyra entered the hall, now serving as the Phoenix's chief science officer. "The crew is ready, Admiral," she said. "We await your orders." O'Neill nodded, taking one last look at Elena's image before turning to leave. "Let's make her proud," he said. "Let's show the galaxy what we can do together." As the Phoenix lifted off, carrying a diverse crew of humans and aliens, O'Neill couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder. They had faced extinction and emerged stronger, turning adversity into opportunity. Now, with the combined knowledge and resources of multiple species at their disposal, the possibilities seemed endless. The stars beckoned, full of mysteries to unravel and challenges to overcome. And humanity, once dismissed as primitive, now stood at the forefront of this grand cosmic adventure. They had proven their worth in the face of unimaginable odds, and in doing so, had changed the course of galactic history. As the Phoenix jumped to faster-than-light speed, O'Neill smiled. The journey ahead would be filled with dangers and wonders beyond imagination. But if there was one thing he knew for certain, it was this: humanity was ready for whatever the universe might throw at them next. The age of human isolation was over. The era of galactic cooperation had begun, and the universe would never be the same again. The cosmic frontier. A decade had passed since humanity's induction into the galactic conclave. The initial excitement had given way to a new normal, one where humans worked alongside aliens on distant worlds, and Earth had become a melting pot of galactic cultures. Admiral Jack O'Neill, now nearing retirement, stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, a massive space habitat orbiting Earth. The station served as a symbol of the new era, a place where species from across the galaxy came to live, work, and learn together. Quite a view, isn't it? a familiar voice said behind him. O'Neill turned to see Dr. Ayana Okoro, the physicist whose insights had been crucial in defeating the void swarm. Now, she was one of the leading researchers in a new field that combined human theoretical physics with alien technology. "Never gets old," O'Neill replied with a smile. "How's the research going?" Ayana's eyes lit up with excitement. "We've made a breakthrough in understanding the nature of subspace. With the Zaki's help, we might be on the verge of developing a new form of FTL travel that could make jumps across the entire galaxy in minutes." O'Neill whistled softly. Now that would change everything. As they talked, a group of alien children ran past, laughing and playing. Among them was a young human girl, her dark skin contrasting with the iridescent scales of her Zaki playmate. "You know," O'Neill mused, "sometimes I wonder what Elena would think of all this." Ayana nodded sullenly. Her sacrifice made this possible. In a way, she's still with us in everything we've accomplished. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent beep from O'Neill's comm device. "Admiral," a voice said, "you're needed in the command center immediately." When they arrived, they found the command center buzzing with activity. Lyra, now an elder scientist and Earth's ambassador to the Conclave, was waiting for them. "We've detected something," she said without preamble. "A signal from beyond the galactic barrier." The room fell silent. In all the years of space exploration, no civilization had ever successfully penetrated the mysterious energy field that surrounded the Milky Way. "What kind of signal?" Ayana asked, her scientific curiosity piqued. Lyra brought up a holographic display. "It's like nothing we've ever seen before. It doesn't match any known form of communication." O'Neill studied the display, a mix of excitement and apprehension building in his chest. Could it be another void swarm? "No," Lyra shook her head. "This is different. It feels intentional." As they debated the nature of the signal, a young human officer spoke up. "Sir, what if it's not a threat? What if it's an invitation?" O'Neill looked at the officer, reminded of his younger self. "An invitation to what, Lieutenant?" The officer straightened, emboldened. "To the next great adventure, sir. To push beyond our galaxy, to explore what's out there." A thoughtful silence fell over the room. The idea was as thrilling as it was terrifying. "The Conclave will want to approach this cautiously," Lyra warned. "Many species still remember the void swarm. They'll be hesitant to risk another existential threat." O'Neill nodded, then turned to address the room. "But that's where humanity comes in, isn't it? We've always been the ones willing to take risks, to push boundaries. And now, with the knowledge and technology we've gained from our galactic neighbors, we're better prepared than ever." He walked to the center of the room, his voice filled with determination. "I say we answer that signal. We assemble a joint expedition, the best minds and bravest souls from across the Conclave. We build a ship capable of crossing the barrier, and we go see what's out there." The room erupted in excited chatter. Ayana was already scribbling equations, muttering about modifying the new FTL drive. Lyra closed her eyes, communing telepathically with the Zaki High Council. As the plans began to take shape, O'Neill felt a familiar thrill. This was why humanity had looked to the stars in the first place, not just for resources or new homes, but for the sheer wonder of discovery. Months later, O'Neill stood in the hangar bay of the Odyssey, the most advanced ship ever built by the combined efforts of the Conclave races. It was humanity's penchant for naming ships after mythological journeys that had won out in the end. The crew was a diverse mix of species, each bringing unique skills and perspectives to the mission. As O'Neill prepared to give his departure speech, he caught sight of a mural on the hangar wall. It depicted the battle against the void swarm, with the phoenix at its center. And there, among the stars, was Elena's face, watching over them. 10 years ago, O'Neill began, his voice carrying across the hangar, humanity was dismissed as a primitive species, barely worth notice. Today, we stand at the threshold of the greatest journey our galaxy has ever undertaken. He looked out at the assembled crew, human, Zaki, and a dozen other species, all united in purpose. We carry with us the hopes and dreams of countless worlds. We go not just as explorers, but as ambassadors of our entire galaxy. Whatever we find out there, we face it together. As the Odyssey lifted off, breaking free of Unity Station's gravitational pull, O'Neill felt a sense of déjà vu. Once again, humanity was venturing into the unknown, facing challenges they couldn't begin to imagine. But this time, they weren't alone. They had the wisdom of ages, the technology of 100 worlds, and the unbreakable bonds of friendship forged in the crucible of shared adversity. As the ship approached the galactic barrier, its new engines humming with power, O'Neill gave the order to proceed. The Odyssey surged forward, piercing the veil that had contained their galaxy for eons. In that moment, as they crossed into the intergalactic void, O'Neill realized that this was humanity's true destiny. Not just to survive, not just to prove themselves, but to lead the way into a new era of cosmic exploration and understanding. The signal beckoned, a mystery waiting to be unraveled, and humanity, once underestimated, now stood at the forefront of the greatest adventure in galactic history. As the Milky Way shrank behind them, becoming just one point of light among countless others, O'Neill smiled. Whatever lay ahead, he knew one thing for certain: the best was yet to come.